Whoa, what's that I just heard? Was that sleigh bells? Jingle bells? Are we counting down to Christmas with our Behind the Lens Christmas-themed show? Well, I think that's exactly what we're doing today, and doing it with 2 holiday films, one a documentary and one a narrative, and interviews with 2 terrific filmmakers. In case you've forgotten, I'm Debbie Elias, film critic, creator, and host of Behind the Lens, where we go behind the lens and below the line with all those movers and shakers, those film and TV makers, the producers, the directors, the writers, actors, cinematographers, production designers, costume designers, film editors, sound mixers, composers, VFX gurus. You name it, and I'm talking with them. Now, as I said, it's all about Christmas today, as I welcome writer, co-cinematographer, co-director, and all-around hands in everything, as an indie filmmaker has to do. Adam Volerich is with me, talking about his feature directorial debut, Drink and Be Merry. And then documentarian CELIA ANISKOVICH, who is filled with the Christmas spirit as she talks about her documentary, The Merchants of Joy. So let's get that cinematic sleigh going with Adam Volerich and Drink and Be Merry. I love the premise of this. It jumped out at me. Everybody has a dive bar somewhere in their history, somewhere in their life. And one of my favorites for the past 30 years is here in Culver City, the Backstage Bar and Grill. So I immediately, on hearing the premise of this film, was beyond curious to see if Adam really captured a holiday dive bar feeling. And let me tell you, he does. Now, set at a struggling New York dive bar in the days leading up to Christmas 2019, Chet, a beleaguered bartender in a state of extended arrested development, must balance caring for his misanthropic aging regulars, who have nowhere else to go, and rely on him for far more than pouring drinks, with his naive desires to muster some Christmas spirit. As Adam himself describes it, you know this bar, maybe you were a regular, maybe you were just passing through, but you sat and you sipped, all the same. The bartender treated you well, the barflies bantered with each other. Yes, it's where everybody knows your name, but without all the hubbub and energy of a Cheers bar. The jukebox was already playing someone else's song. There's wood paneling. There's dirty bathrooms. There's cheap drinks. Sometimes there's food. Sometimes there's not. Cash only. It's a liminal space where the outside world exists only in the memories of those seated on the stools. And they're all doing their best to forget what's outside the doors of the bar. The only window out, there are no windows. So the only window out is a TV that's tuned to the wrong channel. But the bar is warm, it's comfortable, it's cozy. And that's how you remember it, and how you will always remember it. So set in those the days approaching Christmas 2019, a few months before every bar in the country would close its doors indefinitely, neither Chet nor his regulars know if this will be their last Christmas together. But for them, every day is just another day, but under the prettiest of holiday wrappings. Now, in our exclusive conversation, Adam talks about how his own real-life experiences at the Assembly Bar in Queens inspired Drink and Be Merry, and how screenwriter Leon Winters put pen to paper to capture the life's blood of a dive bar and its patrons. Set during Christmas Eve Day and Eve, the film was shot at the Elmwich Pub in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and looks extremely festive, as many dive bars do for the holidays. And I have to say, I'm waiting to see what the backstage does for the final Christmas decorations. I know KJ Shane, the fabulous DJ there, is working on those right now as I'm talking. Now, Jefferson White, you know him best. All you Yellowstone fans, you know him as the beloved character Jimmy. He stars as Chet, the bartender with complex emotions, but who cares about his regulars while his own life has no real clarity or cheer. A real strong suit of the film that Adam and I really dive into is the visual grammar developed by Adam and co-cinematographer Jack Mannion, with some fantastic imagery that ranges with everything from sparkling ECUs to a black and white dreamlike sequence to night shoots of a post-closing time Chet walking the streets. That visual style emphasizes the contrast between the warm, nostalgic bar and Chet's own harsh, sparse apartment that he lives in with his mother, who is wonderfully played by one of my favorite character actresses, and that is Siobhan Hogan. As always, she's wonderful here, and she has great chemistry with Jefferson White. Adam has a lot to say about his collaborative process, most notably between himself, Mannion, and co-editor Dominic Nero. And he also provides some great insight into the challenges of transitioning from short films to features, because this is his feature directorial debut. So, take a listen as Adam Volerich talks Drink and Be Merry. Hey, Adam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for speaking with me today.
Well, with a film called Drink and Be Merry, how could I not talk to you about this film? And I have to say, quite enjoyable. And
oh, thank you.
For anybody that has a local dive bar that they hang out at, that they go to, they are going to relate to this 1,000%.
I hope so, and I agree with you.
Because I've got a local bar near me that I've been going to for over 30 years, and I'm watching some of your regular characters in here and their cynicism, and it's like, oh God, I just can't be in the house. And this is something that I see all the time. It's wonderful to sit and be observational, and then to see things that I see in life, have you capture it perfectly on screen. It's just fantastic.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that was certainly what we were aiming for, and much of that goes all the way back to the script, which was written by Leo Winters, who used to hang out at this bar in Queens called Assembly Bar, which, incredibly enough, was also the shooting location of the film Trees Lounge, starring and directed by Steve Buscemi. And when he was hanging out there a lot, he was sort of mentally, cataloging a lot of the people he saw, a lot of the interactions, steeping himself in that vibe, and much of that made its way into the script. And then, of course, I too have spent many days and many nights at a local dive, actually the one in the film, and I certainly, filtered in much of my own experience there as well.
Well, I have to say, your local dive that you have in the film, that is a fantastic dive bar, Adam.
It is.
It is a fantastic dive bar. Now, I have to ask you, for production design purposes, because this does take place around the holidays, Christmas Eve, does your bar have the lights up all year long, or did you bring that in for set dressing?
Yeah, so we shot at the Ale & Witch pub, which is a very real and functioning bar down in New Brunswick, New Jersey. It's actually a lot more, popular and fun vibe-wise as it is depicted in the film, because it's a student bar, and I know and love the place from having hung out there when I was a student at Rutgers. And Robert, who runs it, was very gracious in allowing us to shoot there during the hours that the bar was closed. We brought in all of the Christmas decorations, but otherwise that's just the bar. But we brought in all of the Christmas things, and Robert allowed us to keep them up for the entire run of production. So it was really funny, because if you went into the bar during the days that we were filming, it looked like Christmas in there, even though we were shooting in May and April.
the lights add so much to a dive bar and to its personality. I think Robert needs to leave the Christmas lights up all year long. Just saying, based on my decades of experience.
I'll let him know.
How did Leo's script come to you? What was this script development like? Because at first blush, I know a lot of people are going to think, sitting in a bar, people complaining, it's dead. Doesn't exactly scream cinematic.
Sure. Well, I always like to tell the story of how this all came to be, because I think it's just a nice testament to the whole concept of an independent film festival. But a few years ago, I had made a short film called Misprint, which also starred Jeff White and was also produced by Brendan Hubbard, who produced this film. And we screened it at the Art of Brooklyn Film Festival in Brooklyn, New York. And it screened as part of a block of short films about kind of men in crisis in one way or another. And Leo was there as well, also screening a film in that block called Hold the Dash, which was a really wonderful short film about a Twitch video game streamer. And we had each liked each other's films and started talking at the after party at the bar afterwards, and sort of decided, hey, let's stay in touch, let's share some scripts with each other. And one of the things that Leo sent me was Drink and Be Merry. At the time, it was called Drinksmas, and he said, I think this would be a really good fit for the kind of thing that you like to do. And I read the script and I agreed. And it was, it had the benefit really of being, set mostly in this bar. I had been trying to put some other films together around the same time, and it's very hard to get a movie made, but a film that has minimal locations is certainly a lot easier to put together.
Yeah.
And I knew instantly from reading the script that I had just worked with Jeff. Jeff's a really good friend, and basically on like page one, I saw Chet, and he kind of jumped off the page, and my brain sort of started auto kind of filling out Jeff in that role. Just immediately, I kind of felt he was the guy for the job, and also filling in the Aylin Witch as the place where the film was set. So I could really see the whole movie in my head pretty much immediately, which to me is always, if I can see the script in my head, that's like me telling myself, oh, like I have a vision for this. Like I think I'd like to make this movie.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have to commend you. Number one, I will see almost any film that Siobhan Hogan is in. So I was very thrilled to see her pop up in this one. But something that really struck me here is having Jefferson White as your lead, as our bartender, Chet. All the Yellowstone fans who are still going through withdrawal will be happy to see him, because his character, Jimmy in Yellowstone, was so beloved by the fans. And a lot of the traits that were in the character of Jimmy are in the character here of Chet. Kind of a little bit emotionally awkward with people, not quite sure where he fits in life, not quite sure what he wants to do. And it's charming to see that, because watching Jeff as Chet, you have this comfort. Just like when you go into your local bar and your favorite bartenders are there and you don't even have to tell them what you want. They know what you want to drink. Here we see somebody that we know and love and recognize, and it's like slipping into a well-worn sweater and a pair of slippers. Immediately we know who this man is, and we're in for the ride. We're going to love it. And this really plays so well for you in this film, Adam.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, Jeff is, I think you said charming earlier. He has certainly an innate charm.
Yeah.
He's a very lovable guy, and I think he brings all of that to his roles. He also, I think of him as being an incredibly energetic and energized person, and I felt like kind of trapping that energy in these small spaces, kind of in this little box, and kind of creating the contrast between someone who is really stuck and can't go anywhere, but so clearly physically and emotionally like wants and needs to would really help bring Chet to life in a very special way.
And we really see that when he is frustrated at night and he's out walking in the dark after the bar closes, and has such a calm, caring demeanor inside the bar with his regulars. When they drink too much and you don't let them take the keys, and when you call the spouse to come and get them, the caring is so evident. But then he gets outside those doors, and those night shoots with him walking on the streets, really powerful. And kudos to your DP, to Jack Mannion, for getting some really wonderful angles. You know, there's quite a bit of dutching upwards when Chet is walking places. Some wonderful angles, bar top angles, the ECUs, I love. But so much of this plays into the different dimensions of Chet. So I really appreciate that you thought that through and did that.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, the night photography, in particular the walking moments, it really felt like an opportunity to show that, you know, I think you mentioned care earlier, and Chet takes care of everyone really except for himself.
Yeah.
And so there are these kind of brief moments where he is left alone, and we get to watch him move through the world in the absence of other people. And it's not like he suddenly starts taking care of himself, but he wears the weight of all the energy that he is giving to other people, and we see the sort of pain in not getting much in return from them.
Really, you feel his frustration, the pain and the frustration, because he knows he's better than this.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's a frustration that I think a lot of people feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's kind of being alive, and then there's living. And I think a lot of us, through, you know, all the different pressures that are external as well as internal, we find ourselves in situations where we don't really know how we got there. And it might take us years to realize that we've been stuck, or that we even feel that way. And that was one of the things that I saw in the script immediately, and just immediately sort of fell in love with. And I felt like kind of using Chet as the vehicle for that would be just a very relatable experience.
Very much so. And the fact that you bring in this really is a microcosmic character study over the course of like 36 hours, 48 hours. And it's not just Chet that we get to see, and I have to say, bringing him crushing on the girl at the bar.
Yeah, Sophie Zucker.
And what happens with that is incredible. And here again, you add another whole dimension here, because you take us into black and white and almost a dreamscape.
Yes, we wanted to create the feeling, you know, of this kind of romantic, sort of sweeping, kind of old-timey, you know, Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And give Chet his kind of his dream of getting to live in that space, if only for a moment. And then, of course, maybe, you know, revealing that he's maybe misread that.
But Ed, it is so beautifully done as a montage, and it's so striking. And it feels...
Yeah, a lot of credit there goes to Dominic Nero, who edited the film with me. He was the one who came up with the black and white idea.
Dominic did a great job on editing this, and I love how he uses the ECUs that you have, of a beer tap, of a shot glass, and Jack has brought the camera eye level with the bar, so that it's a clean shot all the way down. Really beautiful imagery that Dominic then puts together, you know, so perfectly.
Yeah, thank you. I really wanted to, you know, there's a couple of reasons we shot all of the drink pours like that. Number one, I kind of wanted it to be this build where over time you just can't help but be aware of how much these guys are drinking. You know, so by the time you get to the end of the movie, you're like, oh my God, like someone please stop them. There's just so many drinks being poured. But then there's also the added elements that, it's processed porn in a way. So you kind of see the care and attention that Chet pays to these small things that are these kind of repetitive tasks for him.
Mm-hmm.
And then really I wanted to fetishize the alcohol in the same way that, commercial photography does, where you take these drinks which, they make us feel nice, but they're also maybe not so good for us, and we present them to the world in a way that really, sells the beauty of them and makes you attracted to them and want to drink more and more and more. And I felt like leaning into the visual trope of that as well would be helpful.
I love the triumvirate of you and Jack and Dominic. I love how you create and give us that metaphor. It's really wonderful. And of course, so much of that goes to the lighting that you have with those Christmas lights, because how it dances off the alcohol, off the liquid in the glass. So you can tell I love watching the details like that, Adam.
I'm so glad to hear it. I mean, it was that was so much of what we were doing was creating detail work. I think my initial kind of pitch document, I had a whole page called details. So so I'm glad it worked for you.
It definitely worked. And here again, the contrast between the bar and Chet's apartment with his mother. Night and day. And you can see the harsh lighting in the apartment, the kitchen area. There is nothing festive. There's nothing joyous. There's nothing joyous, period, whether it's a holiday or not. And it's so you can really see how this dichotomy is building within Chet. What were your thoughts in constructing the apartment so glaringly sparse?
Yeah, I really wanted the bar to be a place that was constantly draped in this glowy, nostalgic light, so that you found yourself willingly kind of succumbing to all of its charms and allowing yourself to become stuck there in the way that the patrons do. And then presenting Chet's home in a way where it is more of a liminal space, because for him it is a liminal space. He spends almost his entire life in that, kind of dark, cavernous bar and doesn't even really get to come home all that often. And so we actually sort of intentionally obscured quite a lot of the geography of that apartment, and people are kind of walking in and out of rooms in ways that don't even make 100% logical or geographic space. And, the bar is very warm and very glowy, and the apartment's very blue, much harsher. We were really into this idea of, having the cold light of day kind of shine through in the morning. And, just never really allowing the home to feel anywhere as near as comfortable as the bar is, because the bar is, I love thinking of it as sort of nostalgia as a prison, and this place that is not necessarily good for you and doesn't allow you to grow, but keeps welcoming you back over and over again.
Mm-hmm. How difficult or challenging was your casting here? Because your casting of our Barflies is fantastic. It has such a real, authentic feel. Each one of them. If you go in a dive bar, each one of these people that you have sitting at this bar. I love your cast. Was that a challenge for you?
Yeah, I mean, thank you. Yeah, I love our cast, and I'm insanely grateful to everyone who agreed to be a part of this film. Our Barflies in this case, Delaney Williams, Brian Anthony Wilson, Billy Smith, and Wharton Tract. Wharton Tract, who plays Shorty, he is a good friend of my producer, Brendan Hubbard, and so Brendan reached out to him, and he agreed to come be in the movie. And he kind of remained in character through most of production, which was really fun and kind of strange experience to direct him in that way, but overall very delightful. And then Brian Anthony Wilson, Brendan and I had already worked with on some narrative fiction podcasts. And so when I was reading the script, he was another person who immediately came to mind as being, great in the role, and just sent him I still had his email address from when we were working together before, so just sent him a nice, polite email asking if he was interested, and he was gracious enough to accept. And Billy and Delaney, we were connected to through friends of friends, and similarly, we just sort of sent them. Jeff and I sent them, nice emails, really, just sort of letting them know how much we loved their work and how honored we would be if they would be interested in joining us in this production, and incredibly lucky and grateful that everyone said yes. But I do think, kind of a good lesson to independent filmmakers out there, you kind of have nothing to lose by just asking people things. And if you ask nicely and politely, and you are authentic and in what you're asking for, at least in this case, it worked out. I think it helped that Jeff was already attached, and so with each additional cast member joining the project, it sort of became this domino effect, where the sort of prestige of the overall cast kept sort of exponentially increasing. So it sort of got easier as we went along. But if you had told me, before, 2 years ago, that this was going to be the cast of this movie, I would have said you were playing a joke on me. I can't believe how lucky we got, and everyone was just, amazing to work with, just wonderful people, and of course, all of them incredible actors.
And of course, this is your first narrative feature film.
Yes.
So
featured directorial debut.
Yes. So now the big question, now that you made the leap from shorts and have your first narrative feature directorial debut under your belt, what did you learn about yourself in making that transition as a filmmaker and a storyteller?
Yeah, I learned so much. I feel like with every film I work on, I reach the end of the project and I think, wow, I sure wish I could go make that film now that I know how to make that film. But I learned all sorts of things. This was very much a micro-budget production, and a lot of people wearing lots and lots of hats, myself included. And I think among the many things I've learned is that on the next one, if I'm able to, I would like to wear fewer hats. I think that would be ideal. The thing I love most in life is being on set and making movies. And I think once production wraps, or really once post-production wraps, that's sort of where my knowledge and skills kind of come to an end, and where I really need to be handing off much more of the responsibility to other people. But I need to be handing off responsibility throughout the process as well. I think collaboration is one of the best and most exciting things about getting to make a film, and there was a lot of going outside the bounds of just directing because it's what was necessary on a project of this size. But I think going forward, I would like to be able to get even more collaborative on the next one. But I think, the biggest thing I learned is that I can do this. I think for many years when making short films, I definitely had quite a lot of fear and anxiety around making the leap. And now having done it, it's nice to just get the feeling of, well, I did it. It happened. I don't need to worry about that anymore.
So now that you've made this leap into feature films, will you stay in feature films or go back and forth between shorts and features?
If I had it my way, it would be all features from here on out. But, this industry doesn't necessarily allow you to chart a linear path of exponential growth. Sometimes you have to go back and forth. For me, it's going to come down to what's the next project that I love and that I can also afford to get produced. So whether that comes in the form of a feature or a short, I'm happy to go in either direction, really. But I certainly would prefer to remain in features in the long term. I do think there is a lot more storytelling, potential in the medium of feature filmmaking compared to shorts. Features are they're my true love. That's, I don't spend a lot of time watching short form, material. I live in the feature space, and so I'd like to stay there if I'm able to.
Well, in the feature space, it gives you much more of an opportunity to develop characters like you've done here, and showing the multiple aspects of a personality, even within a limited time span within the film. Job so well done, Adam. I mean, I knew your work anyway. The emoji song I have long loved. Ben, I actually had on my live show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had Ben on my live show back in, 2017 or 18, talking about the emoji song. So,
no way. That's amazing.
So I am well familiar with your work. So I was excited to see that you had made the leap into feature, and I couldn't wait. And especially about a dive bar. Hello. Had to see it. And I'm so glad I did. A wonderful job. You could do a Valentine's Day. You could go back to the bar and do a Valentine's Day disaster.
Yes, there's a whole sort of holiday-themed cinematic universe that we could transpose into that location.
You could actually turn it into a series.
Hey, I'd love to. If anyone wants to make those films, please let me know. I'm around.
Adam, this has been so wonderful to get to chat with you today.
Likewise.
I love the movie. I've already recommended it to about 15 people, a bar owner, and several bartenders at my local bar.
Wow. God, amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, they always ask me, every time they see me, what should we watch? What should we watch? And they know I love low budget, no budget, micro budget films. So everybody has been put on notice about Drink and Be Merry.
That's fantastic.
But this has been lovely, Adam.
Great.
I can't wait to see what feature you bring us next.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you watching the film and taking the time to talk with me. This has been really great.
Oh, thank you. And you can have a great rest of your day and week, Adam.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye. And that was Adam Volerich discussing Drink and Be Merry, which is available right now on digital, Blu-ray, and DVD. More sleigh bells. I think that was the signal for me to move from the warmth of a cozy, nostalgic bar to the hustle and bustle of New York City with the Merchants of Joy and documentarian CELIA ANISKOVICH. I am in love with this documentary. I have to say. It is funny, it's heartwarming, and it's grounded in the 5 families it follows who sell Christmas trees in New York City each year. The Merchants of Joy captures the cast of characters behind the city's Christmas tree stands, small business owners who bring holiday cheer to the streets each season, along with a healthy dose of friendly and sometimes not so friendly competition with each other. It's a great behind-the-scenes look at how tree merchants on the streets have to put in a bid to the city, to the Parks Department, in order to get the spots that they want. And as you're going to see, what's so fun is that the 5 families that are profiled, they all know what spots, everybody has their favorite corner, everybody has their favorite street, just like you when you go purchase your tree. Same thing. You have your same vendor that you want to go to, the same spot year after year. But we also see let's just call him a Grinch. We also see a Grinch who is well aware of this and who has what position every year, and nobody steps on anyone's toes until he decides he's going to this year and outbids some of the regular families for their coveted spots. So it's really interesting to see that without losing the Christmas feel of the documentary. Now, as you'll hear Celia discuss, the project began with an Epic magazine article about the Christmas tree trade. Propelled by her own love of Christmas, filming the Merchants of Christmas was never supposed to feel like an extreme sport, but that's exactly what it became for her. She dove into the project without a penny of funding, just stubborn optimism and a maxed out stack of credit cards. And every independent filmmaker out there is nodding his or her head up and down. Yep, been there, done that, we know it. With a tiny crew in tow, she found herself not only directing the film, but driving the crew van, fetching coffee, serving as the production's one-woman power grid. This is truly low-budget, no-budget, micro-budget guerrilla filmmaking. But to see this documentary, the quality of it, it belies it being low-budget, no-budget, micro-budget. The Christmas tree business, as we quickly learn, and as as we talk about in our interview, it runs on a schedule that gives the merchants roughly 15 days to make their year. And Celia had those same 15 days to capture everything. There was no going back for reshoots. Miss a moment, and it was gone forever. Like a rogue pine needle slipping between the floorboards of her crew van. Logistics were less organized production and more holiday treasure hunt. Heather, one of the film's key personalities, was never in the same place twice. The vendors ping-ponged between multiple lots, drifting from point A to point B with no warning. Celia and her team simply showed up, cameras ready, hoping for the best, and bracing for whatever version of chaos arrived. And through it all, they had one sacred rule, and you'll hear her stress this. Never interfere with the merchant's income. If a vendor barked, as several of them, particularly Heather, barked, "Get the fuck out of my way," that was their cue to just melt. Just melt into the tinsel or the puddling snow on the ground. Winning trust was very tricky. Celia had to convince the famously tight-knit tree-selling families that she wasn't there to expose them, mock them, or dismantle Christmas as we know it. Big Greg, who you will fall in love with, he is the heart of this film. Big Greg became her ambassador, dialing up the other families from his living room and vouching for her one by one. Bit by bit, walls lowered, stories flowed, and the result was emotional honesty captured on camera that came from people willing to share their hardest truths with a stranger who proved to them, and as you see the doc, to us, that she genuinely cared. Because prep time was non-existent, the film evolved into a verite sprint, raw, real, and unscripted. And as Celia explained, she wanted authenticity, not ornamentation. So the crew danced between capturing magic and getting out of the way before accidentally disrupting someone's livelihood. The real excitement, from a filmmaking standpoint, as if being out there shooting everything on the fly, isn't exciting enough. When they hit the editing room, the first cut was 6.5 hours long. Celia had to make decisions, working with several editors, carving out hundreds of hours of material into a tight 89-minute Christmas movie that balanced character arcs, insider tree lot lore, and genuine emotional beats. A finishing editor, Ben Kaplan, came in at the end with fresh eyes to help trim the 2-hour version into what you will see when you watch the film. And there were other seasonal oddities that she captured, and difficulties she had, like trying to get Christmas trees in August for, stand-up interviews. And Celia does confirm that off-season evergreens are harder to find than a parking spot at the mall on Christmas Eve. So this began as a scrappy passion project for a filmmaker who loved Christmas with a passion. And it grew into something deeply meaningful. There's heartbreak that happens in here. There's also a lot of joy that comes from that. And you'll hear Celia talk about that. And I got teary. She got teary. You may get teary hearing her discuss it. But in the end, The Merchants of Joy became exactly what Celia hoped for. A real Christmas movie. It's messy, F-bomb filled, it's heartfelt, it's joyously human. Just like the people who sell the trees that bring the holiday magic into our living rooms. So take a listen as director CELIA ANISKOVICH talks about diving into her own Santa's bag of directorial experience to bring us the Christmassy joy of The Merchants of Joy. Hi, Celia.
Hello, how are you?
I am so happy to be speaking with you about this wonderful bundle of joy that you have given us for the holiday, The Merchants of Joy.
Thank you.
I didn't know what to expect when I watched this, but this is so wonderful. It's interesting, it's fun, it's entertaining. The merchants that you profile, we really get to know them. Each has a personality bigger than life. None more so than Big Greg and Little Greg.
Yeah.
Just amazing. And it is a subject that this does not just pop into somebody's head, except the wonderful writers who wrote the Epic Magazine article. Obviously, it popped into their head, and somebody was smart enough to send those articles to you. How do you plot out making a documentary like this one? It's specialized, you technically have minimal time frame in which to do it, and choosing who you're going to showcase, because there are lots of corner tree people.
Yeah. So, well, to start by commenting on something you said, I'd be remiss not to say, yes, it started with Epic Magazine, and actually the author of that article works for Big Greg, so that's how he knew about all of this. Yes. And I would also be remiss not to say that the first person who sent me this article was my own mother. So people who know me that I love Christmas. So I think about 25 people had sent it to me by the end of the first day it had been published.
Oh, my God.
I know. And I knew immediately that I wanted to tell this story. It is, you touched on something, it's tricky, right? Christmas tree salesmen and Christmas tree selling, it's a bit like a sports season.
Yeah.
You can't go back and film stuff that you missed. So we just had to start. And I talked about this. We did not have financial backing to start. I maxed out every credit card I had. I took an additional loan. I really, bet it all on this film because, as you say, the characters were exceptional. Yeah. Every day was better than the next. And it was just infectious. I mean, it was such a joy to film, such a joy to be a part of. How did I choose these 5 salesmen? Well, obviously, the article gave me a great roadmap to start, but really, most of the trees sold in New York City are sold by these 5 people, which I think most New Yorkers, I've lived here for 15 years, I had no idea that there was such a sort of, tree mafia, tree monopoly here.
I mean, that's something that, because I'm out here in LA, and even when I lived in Philly, I grew up in Philly, it's the tree merchants, they show up each year. You kind of know who's going to be at this corner, at that corner, when they're not, and you go back to the same place year after year. But you have no idea the trappings that are going on behind the scenes so that those merchants can come back. Now, and then they disappear for a year. Now, you very smartly, your merchants that you are focusing on and showcasing here, they also pop up for other holidays. So it becomes a year-long business for them in a sense, especially when it comes to Valentine's Day, Mother's Day. You got to get flowers. Getting flowers may be harder than getting your trees. So I found that so fascinating. Were you aware of the year-round aspect that these vendors have when you started this?
I wasn't. I mean, it makes some sense, right?
Yeah.
For most people, you're not going to make your whole living on trees. But, you know, they like to say they're hustlers, they're peddlers, right?
Oh,
you know, they, whether it's selling flowers at Valentine's Day or pumpkins at Halloween, or, you know, George runs a carnival business, Heather runs an exotic animal meat and hot sauce store on the Jersey Shore boardwalk, right? Like they're entrepreneurs. And so it doesn't surprise me that they do this, but no, I had no idea.
The first person that you obviously hooked up with was Big Greg and Little Greg. How did you branch out from there? No pun intended with branch. How you get Greg, and then how do you get everybody else in here?
Yeah, so I met Greg first, and he is the person, he was the conduit to all the other families. And so as you see in the film, all of these people are connected, right?
Yeah.
Like they worked for each other, or they grew up together, or they whatever it was. And so I sat in his living room, and one by one, he called all of the other families for me and said, "You got to talk to this woman." I actually think he said, "You got to talk to this girl." And they were like, "Huh? You know, who is this person? What does she want?" And I hope that they quickly realized that I love Christmas as much as they do, which was kind of really all they were asking. They wanted to make sure I wasn't trying to do a hit piece or take down Christmas, which of course wasn't. And so, you know, I think 5 families of Christmas, right? That's kind of an incredible tagline already. So
Yeah.
5 felt like a good number. But also these are really the main players. And so we started to spend time with each of them. And I also think they all, you know, people say it a lot about them. They're all so different, and yet they're all so similar. There's a through line for all of them. And so in many ways, I feel like, you know, you might not connect to all of them, but you'll find something to connect to about each of them. And I loved that. I felt like somehow within all 5 of them, if you mush all 5 of them together, like you've got a working class American. Like there's just something in there that feels so organically relatable and beautiful and authentic. And so wanted to make sure I captured all of them.
Well, you definitely did. And I think the first thing that I wrote the publicist about the film after I watched it was the heart of this film is Big Greg. He truly is. He was your conduit, but he is also the heart of this film. And his joy is infectious. And by having him as perhaps the primary focus here, Big Greg, and as we see him grooming Little Greg, and Little Greg becoming more mature and taking more of the reins over the course of this season, it is incredible. And because of the challenges that Big Greg and his family are facing, that adds another layer of angst and care. It's just beautiful the way you structure that so that unfolds and comes out. And everybody else around, all the other vendors, they have similar, well, except for Heather, they really have some similar heartfelt familial emotion happening. And that really just comes across here. The heart that you capture and bring forth. And I am just amazed that you were able to do that, especially in the editing process of this.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, what I will say is, you know, our first assembly was 6.5 hours long. I mean, we shot hundreds of hours of footage. And there's so much stuff that is on the cutting room floor that I missed. But I can't stress this enough. they came to this with an openness that was unbelievable. I mean, they trusted me so deeply. They shared really personal, really difficult things with a stranger. And I mean, to some degree, that's my job, right? Like, I hope to create an environment where people trust enough to share that, but it's not often you get it to this degree. And I think, you know, I joked with them all the time, you know, freelance documentary filmmakers and tree people, we share a lot in common. There's something to both, you know, the ADD that we all have, but also just the sort of hustling mentality, but also the desire to create, you know, magic in a bottle. And so I think, you know, we really did become a family in making the film because I started independently financing it. Our crew was very, very small. You know, I drove the crew vehicle every day. Like, I was buying coffee for people in addition to directing the film. So, you know, we were all family. And, you know, I think that built a really incredible relationship that is hard to describe and allowed for a vulnerability that, you know, they saw the film for the first time with a live audience in New York City. And that's such a nerve-wracking experience as a director. What if they storm out? What if they hate it? What if they can't believe I included things? Even though they knew the cameras were rolling, you wouldn't be surprised how often people forget things.
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And they all loved it. And, you know, the comment I kept getting from people, which is, to me, the highest praise is, you know, this is so real. It's exactly how it happened. This is who we are. And, you know, again, as a documentary filmmaker, to feel like you captured something real, there's no greater feeling.
Yeah, and it feels very, very real. It feels like we were right there on the corners with all of them. I love that you have that verite style. So the energy level is amazing. And that carries through in your editing as we go from person to person, you know, tree to tree to tree to tree, which begs the question, how challenging was the editing of this, especially since you had 6.5 hours? And I got news for you. I would watch all 6.5 hours of this one. But how challenging was the edit process with this?
Incredibly challenging. You know, I often talk about, there's a difference to me between a Christmas movie and a movie about Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to make a Christmas movie. And in some ways that made it even harder. And in some ways it made the editing process easier because, you know, Christmas movies are not winning awards, right? They're not often seen as great films, which is funny to me because they're the films we rewatch the most, right? We go back to them again and again and again, which to me is the sign of a great film. But Christmas films follow pretty reliable narrative structures, right? Mm-hmm. You have character archetypes. You always have a happy ending. You have something at stake. You have pretty simple morality, a good sense of right and wrong. And yes, you tug and you pull in different directions. But I always think of Home Alone 2 as kind of the tonal comp of this movie for me. You laugh, you cry, you feel, but we're all around the tree end. And so, you know, that was a guiding light for me. Of we're making a Christmas movie, and what does that mean? And yes, it's a grittier Christmas movie maybe than most. There's a ton more F-bombs than normal. One of my favorite comments was Heather said to me before the screening, "Now, I didn't swear at all in this movie, did I?" Let's just say, "You all swore every other word. What are you talking about?" And so, you know, I think I followed that, and you know, everyone want something different from a film like this, right? People will say, "Oh, I wish I had known more about the inner workings of the financials." Other people say, "I wish I had known more about the people who live on the street." And so it's hard. How do you balance a little bit of each without diluting it to just becoming a string of random observations when you're talking about a bunch of verite footage? But for me, you know, the other guiding light beyond this is a Christmas movie is this has got to be about more than selling Christmas trees. Mm-hmm. You know, it's about so much more than selling Christmas trees for these merchants. And if we're gonna tell a story about Christmas, it's got to be about, again, something bigger than just the cost of a tree on the sidewalk. And so, you know, the kind of second half of the film goes in that direction.
Yes,
we move a little bit more away from, you know, how many trees did they sell today to what's going on? Who are these real people? What's going on in their lives? Why are they here? How are they here?
Yeah, I mean, I love it. We do. Like George and Jane, we get to see them, their farm.
Yep.
And we hear all about them, after 50 years, they're going to retire. They're turning it over to their daughter. And you see her. I love how you show the generational aspects. You've got Siri taking over for George and Jane. You've got little Greg, big Greg. And we see this shift of power, the transfer of power, so to speak, within the family dynamic, but also from a business standpoint. That fascinated me. That you captured that. And I think the way you presented it is just through in the editing process. It's wonderful, but it doesn't overpower Christmas. It doesn't overpower the trees. It all feels like a natural, a symbiotic relationship that's happening.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's incredible praise that I will pass along to our editor, who is largely responsible for that.
And who did the editing on this one, Celia?
It's a mix. So we had Sam Kuhn and Brett Banks were our pretty much all the way through editors, and then we had an incredible finishing editor named Ben Kaplan who came on, which I think is always really important, especially with a film with this much footage. To bring someone in and who's got fresh eyes, who doesn't know everything that's there, who can say, I know you love this thing, but you don't need it. We gotta kill it. It was very important to me as well. I feel very strongly that documentaries should not be longer than 90 minutes. No one needs more than a 90-minute film. I think it's the right length. And so you'll see our film is like 89 minutes and 23 seconds, I think. So for a while we had a cut that was almost 2 hours, and it was too long. So he helped us get it down to time.
It moves very quickly. I love the way you've broken it down into, 1 week before Christmas, Christmas Eve, 2 weeks before Christmas. I love that. So it really gives us a sense of time and space at the same time. I've got to ask you about Kevin Hammer,
yes.
our voice-only participant. How did you... He is like the Grinch. You got to have a Grinch, and he is definitely it. I love the courtesy that everybody else has. Everybody knows what corners, what streets... And every year they put in their bids, which that amazed me, how they have to put in bids for these spots with the city. Yep. But it's, this is yours. So they go after the same things. He wants to come in and take everything from everybody. He wants this spot. He wants this spot. So you did a great job of bringing the Grinch in. So I'm curious how you got him to participate. And why would he not be on camera?
So I love that you use the Grinch analogy, because I think it's more apt than people even realize. I think what people often forget about the Grinch is, yes, he is the Grinch, but he actually loves Christmas more than anyone. You remember the end of the film. Yep. Just a little misunderstood. And I think that about Kevin Hammer. I think that he actually he loves Christmas. And he loves, as he says in his final line of the film, he loves New York City. And, his voice, he's got our cinematographer described it as if Kermit the Frog was raised in Brooklyn. And I was like, that's it. It's perfect. I love it. And so, Kevin's a very private person. He didn't want to be a part of this. I never met him in real life. We only had those phones. And, I don't even know. I don't know if he's seen the film. I have no idea. But that was his position. And, if you ask any of the tree salesmen this year, they've had plenty of run-ins with him, and they're not happy for a variety of reasons for other things. So, every year there's a new pile of drama coming up.
Oh, my God. Well, what was, for you, besides having to max out all your credit cards, fund this yourself, how much prep time did you get from the time you read the articles to when it's like, okay, I'm going to plan this out, got to do this, you get in touch with Greg, Big Greg. How much prep did you have for this?
Oh, almost none. Pretty much none. We filmed the interviews that go throughout in August. So I had time to prep for those. That's a funny story, trying to get Christmas trees. There are real Christmas trees in the backdrops of the shops in August. Good luck. That's a whole other story. But yeah, not a lot, which in some ways I think was good. I think if we had over-prepared for this, it may have suffered. I didn't want to make a film that felt staged. I didn't want to make a film, again, that wasn't authentic. And so the fact that we had to sort of fly by the seat of our pants, I mean, talk about also planning. Like, Heather is never at the place, there's no schedule for anyone, especially Heather.
Yeah.
So you just sort of have to show up and see who was there and make it work. And again, they have to make all their money for the season in 15 days. So their job is to focus on that, not to focus on making a documentary. So we had to work around them. And as New Yorkers, I always said to them, the only way this works is if we are disrupting your business. You have to be able to look at us and say, get the fuck out of my way. And we all understand that, like, you're not mad. You just have to keep moving. And that was the thing. If I was in their way, they told me. If something was going on we wanted to capture, we told them. And they either said, yep, you can be here, or nope, you can't. We just kept moving.
Wow. Yeah, because the way people, especially Heather, running from point A to point B, because it's not just one spot that these people have. They're
running.
Yeah. And you've got to oversee it, especially since it's your money. And this is the only time you're really going to make the crux of your money to live on for the year. So this is what makes it so fantastic, Celia. The energy and the real life moments that you're bringing to the table here and that you're capturing. But throughout the entire thing, the doc always feels Christmassy. You feel Christmas when you watch this.
Oh, that makes me very, very happy. I hope there aren't really any Christmas documentaries that you watch the same way you watch The Holiday or
right.
Elf or whatever it is every year. And I hope this becomes it. I hope people add this to their Christmas canon.
It's definitely been added to mine. I can tell you that. Now, I've got one last question for you, because you are no stranger to documentaries, and you have been a driving force behind so many excellent ones, Saving Superman being one of them. And, of course, you directed Call Me Miss Cleo, which I was fascinated by when I saw that. And Burn It Down is another great one. So what is it that you took? And so this is totally different in theme from your other documentaries. There's great joy here, which is not something that we're used to seeing, except maybe in Saving Superman. But what did you, as a filmmaker, a director and a producer, what did you learn about yourself that you can now take forward into future projects?
Yeah. Well, I'll start by saying you tapped on something which is very true and not lost on me. It's a Christmas miracle. I always say that this film got made. It's especially a Christmas miracle that a film about working class, everyday people who are not famous, who are spreading joy, got made. The reality is the majority of documentaries, and I make these kinds too, are about celebrities or true crime, murders or assaults or these days. You don't get a lot of happy documentaries, particularly not a lot of happy documentaries that end up on major streamers like Amazon.
Yeah.
And so I think what I learned in making this was something that Big Greg taught us all and reminded us of every day. And I take it with me, but I also hope it's a rallying cry for the future of filmmaking. And it's something that Big Greg used to say, Christmas doesn't have to be one day a year. Christmas can be every day, and anyone can Santa any day they choose, which I love. And I think we've never been in a world that's more divided and, struggling the way it is. And we need more joy. We need examples of and proof that joy is not naive, joy is brave, and that we can come together, and community is the answer to so many of our problems. And, talk about, these 5 tree salesmen, wildly different politics, wildly different religious views, and they come together as a family. And it was a real lesson for me. And I hope that audiences also take that away. And I hope that, there's an encouragement and a look to, embrace more happy documentaries, more content that, gives us a reason to smile and be hopeful and joyful. And again, it's it's rare that I get to make these, and so I just feel exceptionally lucky, and I hope I get to make more of them.
I was going to say, I hope you do, because I've seen the other side of you, and now now I see this, and you bring a refreshing voice, a refreshing vision to this. And as you said, nobody makes Christmas documentaries. They just don't.
No.
But I may never forgive you for your post-credit. The post-credit tag. Oh my, I burst into tears when I saw that. That was so incredibly moving.
Oh, thank you.
To see that. And the fact that we were there, though, on part of the journey, and how he never faltered in his love for Christmas.
No, and something I'll just say, and I know we have to wrap up quickly, but
yeah.
Something that so Big Greg lost his own dad when he was little Greg's age.
Oh.
Yeah. And Big Greg's two best friends also lost their dads in their 20s. And I attended Big Greg's funeral, and one of them came up to me and said, "You don't understand." Oof, I'm going to get emotional now. He said, "You don't understand the gift that you have given to this family. We have lost all of our dads, and we have no way to show their grandkids, no way to preserve their legacy. And Big Greg's legacy is preserved forever now."
Yeah.
And if that is a filmmaker, I mean, that's reason enough alone for me to have made this documentary. I'm like, I'm good. I can die happy now. I feel so incredible about that. And so I think, it just, I say it all the time, but it was the honor of my life to make this film. I really feel that way.
Okay, and now you have made me sit here and get all teary. So, job well done. Celia, I love this documentary, The Merchants of Joy. And I've loved chatting with you about it. I hope we get to chat again in the future about another of your projects.
Me too.
Thank you so much. And you have a wonderful Christmas season.
You as well.
Thanks, Celia.
All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye. And that was CELIA ANISKOVICH talking about The Merchants of Joy, which you can now see on Prime Video, something I strongly encourage you to do. And I admit it, I watched it twice before talking to Celia. I have watched it once more since it came out on Prime on December 1st. I love the people. I love these vendors. I love the Christmas feel of the documentary. So see it from the comfort of your couch. Now, there are a few more Christmas films for you to take a look at as vacations start kicking in, along with the holiday spirit and maybe a few eggnogs. Oh, What Fun, starring Michelle Pfeiffer, is currently streaming on Prime. I watched that. It is fun. It's also frenetic from a mother's point of view, but it's enjoyable, it's colorful, it's vibrant, it's alive, and it is Christmassy. There's also Rekindled for Christmas, which is available on Apple TV, Prime, and Google Play, and Christmas Couples Retreat, which is available on all VOD platforms right now. And that is all the time we have today, but I'll be back next week with some more interesting interviews and films for you. So until then, I'm Debbie Elias. This is Behind the Lens.